Today I am going to be giving you a bookshelf tour of my built-in bookshelves. I just wanted to do a quick intro to this video to just quickly talk over what's happening back here. So a couple of years ago I replaced my Billy bookcases with some custom-made built-in bookshelves because there was a little, like, I don't know what you'd call it, like an inset in the wall, and my husband and I thought this would be perfect for some built-in bookshelves. I'm really glad he agreed with me, and I've always dreamed of having built-in bookshelves, so we paid someone to do this for us. They are floor to ceiling. You can't really see because I can't get the camera to go far back enough because there's a desk in the way, but if I can, I'll like climb on the desk and, you know, do some fancy shots or something. These are my bookshelves. I have 3 of them, and each bookshelf has 7 shelves running down it. I do actually still have some space for more books, but I'm trying not to fill all of it too quickly. I separate my books up into read and unread. For my read shelf, I have tried to sort the books alphabetically by author. They are double stacked, so the books at the front are mainly by author, I would say, and then the ones behind, they're kind of hidden back there in the best way possible because I needed a bit more space. It's not the best system. I only have 4 shelves for my read books, and so eventually as I read more of my TBR, I will be able to expand the read bookshelves and then organise them properly. That's the goal anyway. And then as for my TBR books, I have sorted them into genres. So I have, I think, 4 fantasy shelves, 2 sci-fi, 3 literary and historical, 1 thriller and horror, 1 like special shelf for my all-time favourites, and then 1 shelf for my TBR. And if you're keeping up with the maths, that doesn't add up to 21, and that's because I've allowed my husband to have 2 shelves, so he has a read and unread shelf as well. So I thought it's only fair, because he's paying for half the shelves, I give him a little bit of space. So that's kind of the overview. You can see here that I have my favourite shelf, that's the City of Brass and Becky Chambers shelf. There is some more space behind for when they release more books. And then up above, just here, this is my kind of immediate TBR focus shelf. It's not in the best order at the moment because I'm constantly rotating books in and out of that shelf. It gets a bit messy, and then I hide books behind the TBR books as well. You'll see what I mean when I go through all of these. I'll explain in a bit more detail, but that's the overview of my shelves. So without further ado, let's go into some more detail. Okay, so as always, this top shelf is going to be a bit wobbly because my bookshelf goes up to the ceiling and I'm not quite tall enough. Over on the left, we have Legends and Lattes and Bookshops and Bone Dust. I really enjoyed both of those, and I read them quite far apart, and I think that's definitely the way to go with this series. Otherwise it's just way too similar. Moving on, we have Dead Silence by S.A. Barnes, which is one of the books that made me realise I love space horror, like absolutely love it. If you can get your hands on this one, I would highly recommend it. It's so good. I gave it a solid 5 stars. Next we have A Girl Like That, which you might recall if you've been around on Booktube for a while. I don't think I can quite get it out with one hand because, again, I'm not very tall. That's a contemporary YA book and I really enjoyed it. Girl Made of Stars is one that I read around the same time actually as A Girl Like That, and I very much enjoyed this as well. It's a very dark story. It's actually by Ashley Herring Blake, who wrote the, I can't remember the series name, but the book series that starts with Delilah Green Doesn't Care, and this is actually my favourite book of hers. It's very good. Then I have my mini Darcy Coates collection. Parasite, if I can get it out, is my favourite of hers. Now I've taken it too far out. Let's just leave that for a second. Parasite is my favourite of hers, and then I also really enjoyed From Below. Those are the 2 like horror creepy books, and then Dead of Winter is kind of a standard thriller. We have The Serpent and the Wings of Night up there because I don't have enough space to put it on the main shelf. Then we have Jurassic Park, which is my all-time favourite film, and I liked the book as well. My Dark Vanessa, absolutely stunning book, really quite upsetting, but I would recommend it if you think you can handle it. Dark Life by Cat Falls is also amazing. It's a middle grade book that I gave 5 stars back in the day, and I absolutely love it. Gillian Flynn is there. Her other books are behind, I'll show you those in a second. Dowry of Blood, which I gave 5 stars this year. Belladonna and Foxglove, a really good YA series, which is kind of like a, I would say like almost a romantasy, almost. Up here we have Her Majesty's Royal Coven, Into the Drowning Deep by Myra Grant, which is my favourite book of hers. I don't really like her other ones. The Dry by Jane Harper and The Lost Man. The Lost Man is incredible. The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna. The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. The Great Alone is my favourite of hers so far. And then we've got my Ali Hazelwood collection. We've got The Love Hypothesis, Love on the Brain, Love Theoretically, and my favourite, which is Bride. Let me show you what's behind all of these. Okay, so back here on the back shelves on all of these actually is where the alphabetical order goes a bit awry. just because I had to kind of shove these books where they would fit. So over on the left we have Mari and the Night Brothers. I think I might unhaul that, to be honest, because I liked the second book, but not as much as this first one. We have The Vanishing Half, Pretty Girl 13, which I would love to reread. That's a YA thriller book. Leviathan Wakes, the entire Natural series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. The Measure, that I read, I think this year, and I really enjoyed it. My other two Jane Harper books, The Survivors and Force of Nature. Rebel of the Sands and Hero at the Fall. I don't own the second book, at least it's not here. I think it might be at my granddad's house, but I would love to reread those one day. The Appeal by Janice Hallett. The entire Hexhall series, Hexhall, Demon Glass and Spellbound. And then this book here is just a little like children's book I have been trying to find for years, so I couldn't remember anything about this book other than there was a kangaroo and there was something about gold mining. So I had been searching for it on the internet for absolute years, and I finally found it on the subreddit What's That Book, and they led me to this. I just had to search for the correct keywords and I found it. So I'm not getting rid of this because I never want to forget what it is again. I've not reread it, but it's there for like the hilarity. Over here we've got Delilah Green Doesn't Care and Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail, ones that I was talking about just now. The 5th season is back here because I haven't read the others yet, and that's staying behind there until I do. And then I've got the other Gillian Flynn books that I own here. Okay, and then moving up to this shelf here, we're starting with Hannah Gold. Obviously we've got A and Q here. My mother-in-law bought me these, I think. And then we have The Last Bear, The Lost Whale, both by Hannah Gold. We've got Shipped by Angie Hockman, which I feel is a very underrated romance book. I really enjoyed this one. We've got my all-time favourite classic here, which is The Secret Garden. It's one of the very few classics that I have read, and it's my favourite. It's brilliant. We've got The Light Brigade by Cameron Hurley, which is also a really, really good sci-fi thriller. Love this one. And then here we have the Good Girl's Guide to Murder books, all three of them plus the novella. I love these. It's an all-time favourite series. No need to say any more. We have The Haunting of Hill House, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and Carrie Soto is Back, both by Taylor Jenkins Reid. We've got my little Abby Jimenez collection, which is tiny right now. We've got yours truly. And Just for the Summer, we have The Bone Houses by Emily Lloyd-Jones, Notes on an Execution, which is amazing, and I also really love this cover. We have The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune, Winter's Orbit by Everina Maxwell. I really like this one. Here's my Kate Alice Marshall collection. We've got I'm Still Alive and Rules for Vanishing. My Morgan Matson collection. There are more of hers behind here. I'll show you in a second. These are my favourite two, Second Chance Summer and Since You've Been Gone. We have The Five by Hallie Rubenhold, and then my little Madeline Miller collection as well. So we've got Galacia, which is this tiny one here. We've got my Spanish edition of The Song of Achilles, which I only own because it's stunning. And we have Circe over on the end. So now let me show you what's behind here. So over here we have the rest of my Morgan Matson collection, The Unexpected Everything and Save the Dates. These are not my favourites by her. You know, I still enjoyed them, so that's why they're on this shelf. We have The Rearranged Life of Una Lockhart, which is like a time travel-y sort of book. Really enjoyed that one. Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister, another time travel-y sort of book. Here we've got Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. Really enjoyed this one. I didn't like her other book as much though, so I don't own that one. We have Miracle Creek by Angie Kim. I really did enjoy this one. I'm not sure if I would enjoy it as much now, but it was really good at the time that I read it. Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Open Road Summer, which is an old school YA book by Emery Lord. I love this book so much. Judith, if you're watching, which you probably are, you'll probably remember this one. We have this special edition of The Lies of Locke Lamora, and I have unhauled all of my other editions, but he's actually signed this one, and it was the first one of this edition that he has ever signed, and I got him to write that on there, and I don't want to get rid of it. So that's just hiding at the back here for now. We have The Stepford Wives. We've got another Kate Alice Marshall book, which is These Fleeting Shadows. Tiger Lily, which is a old school YA fantasy book. Love this one. This was actually absolutely stunning. We have To Kill a Mockingbird, and let me just make a bit more room. We have my two Mina and the Undead books. The first one there, and the second one here. This is an art copy, not a finished one. There's another Morgan Matson book. I don't know why this isn't with the other two, but that's just going to stay there for now, I think. We have Dark and Shallow Lies, which isn't an all-time favourite, and I've kept it because I'm going to see what I think of the companion book, which is coming out in the new year. That's just chilling back here until I make a decision. There's Not a Drop to Drink by Mindy McGuinness, and again, I didn't love the sequel to this one, but I think I'd like to reread this and see what I think now and then unhaul it if I'm not a massive fan. I remember really liking it. It's a post-apocalyptic book about someone who can find water, but I'm not sure if it will hold up nowadays. Girls Burn Brighter, this was a really good book. Another edition of The Song of Achilles in English this time, and then we have the Chaos Walking trilogy by Patrick Ness, and I probably won't ever reread these, but he has signed one, if not all of them. So I kind of want to keep them because they're personalised to me, but at the same time, I'm not sure I have the space. We'll see. We'll see when I start rearranging my shelves in the new year, maybe. Here is my next shelf. So let's see, I can actually reach this one without standing on anything, so that's great for me. Okay, so here we have the hardbacks of Throne of Glass, excluding the Assassin's Blade because it's a short story collection. I don't know if I'm ever going to reread that, but I've got Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, Heir of Fire, Queen of Shadows, which is my favourite, Empire of Storms, Tower of Dawn, which is my least favourite, and then Kingdom of Ash. Not much to say about these. I originally had the UK paperbacks, and then I started collecting these about a year before they went out of print, and I got rid of the UK paperbacks, but I wish I had kept all of them now, but I didn't. Here we have Drowning by TJ Newman, which I loved. I found this in the charity shop after having read it, and I'm really glad I did because it's such a good thriller. We've got When the Moon Hatched, which is stunning. I love the cover of this book so much. The book itself was like 3.5 stars, but that's okay. I'm gonna see if I like the sequel before deciding whether to keep all of them. We have A History of Burning, which is my favourite book of the year. The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. The Mountains Sing. The Nowhere Girls, which is another older YA book, not an old school one this time, but it's older, and I really like this. We have The No Show by Beth O'Leary, one of my all-time favourite books. This one was stunning and emotional. We have Moon of the Crusted Snow, which just got a sequel. I haven't read it yet, but I would like to. Lost in Time, which is a dinosaur time travel book. Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. I'm keeping this until I've read the second and third books, and then I'll decide if I want to keep it or not. I gave this one 4 stars, I think. I'm not sure if I'm going to love the rest of the series. I've got Glow by Amy Kathleen Ryan, which is an older YA sci-fi. I just love this cover, but the rest of the books in this series don't match. I'll reread this one, see if I like it, and then decide if I want to buy the rest of them. And then we've got my Rooted Seppities collection, or the start of it, Between Shades of Grey and Salt to the Sea. And then hiding behind here, we've got a bit more space behind this one, so lots of room for growth. We've got the 3 Crescent City books. The first one was really good, the other 2 were completely naff, so that's why they're hidden at the back. We have Altered and Erased by Jennifer Rush and The Arc of Erased as well. I loved these books when I was younger, and I really enjoyed supporting the author when she was a debut author as well. So I'm keeping these until I can reread them and see if I want to keep them. I'm sure I would. Put this one over here, that should be there. We've got Unraveling and Unbreakable. Again, debut author, old school YA. Absolutely loved this series, so I'm keeping it and would like to reread eventually, I think. We've got 2 Rooted Seppities books. Between Shades of Grey graphic novel, which is just as devastating as the actual novel, and I Must Betray You. And then we've got some Brandon Sandersons. We've got Arcanum Unbounded, Legion and the Emperor's Soul, and Elantris. And then we've got Crown of Feathers, which I'm really sad about because I didn't like the rest of this series, but I like this cover too much to let it go. And the author has signed it for me because I met her at an event. So I'm just going to keep that back here and see if I want to collect the rest of her books, but I'm probably never going to carry on with that series. And then moving down, this is my last shelf of books that I have read in their entirety. Actually, no, I've got one more shelf over there, but this is my last one on my like official read shelf. So just a few bits and pieces. Here we have Lucas the Spider, absolutely adorable. He can go up there. We have my old Canon G7X, which does still work, but it's kind of there for display now. We'll put that up there. Quill got this for me, which says I could work hard so my cat can have a better life. We've got a picture of the 2 of us at a wedding from a couple of years ago. And then here we've just got a cute plant pot. So, books-wise, we have a box set of the Mistborn series, The Final Empire, The Well of Ascension, The Hero of Ages. We need to talk about Kevin, which was horrific, but I would like to keep it. The Luminous Dead, which is a good horror book. I don't know if I'll keep this forever. I'm just waiting to read some more of the author's books to see if I get on with her writing. We've got Mile High and The Right Move, both by Liz Tomford. The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. Solo, which is the story of an African wild dog. I picked this up years ago when I was like probably 9 years old, and I then got rid of it. So I found this on eBay, and it is literally just the story of this wild dog puppy as she's growing. I found it, I think, at like a school car boot or something, or a summer fete, and I just wanted to track it down for like the nostalgia. So it was 65p when it came out, which makes me feel very old. Here we've got my Ruth Ware collection. So we have The Death of Mrs. Westaway, One by One, and The Turn of the Key. Here we've got my Murderbot collection. So actually I haven't read Exit Strategy yet, So technically this isn't one that I have read, it's just I didn't want to split them up. They look good when they're together. We've got Blood Air by Amelie Wen Zhao. I really need to carry on with this series. I really enjoyed this first one. It's a YA fantasy book. We've got The Martian, we've got In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, and then we've got my Fourth Wing books. This one came to me without a dust jacket, but I did put a sticker on the front and back. So I got this, I think on Etsy. So I stuck that on myself. And then there's this on the back, which is a little bit crinkled, but yeah, I think it looks quite nice. If anyone has a spare dust jacket, let me know. And then Iron Flame here, of course. Okay, and then behind all of those, we have Lies We Tell Ourselves, which is an older YA historical book. The only Paul Tremblay book I own, which is A Head Full of Ghosts. I really enjoyed this one. It was really creepy. We have Gleanings, which is nowhere near the other Neil Shusterman books. Let me just fix that. You can tell I just sort of shoved them behind. See You Yesterday by Rachel Lynn Solomon, codename Verity, an old school historical YA book. Absolutely devastating, but I loved it. The Exiled Queen and the Grey Wolf Throne. The Book Thief, which again, devastating, but loved it. And now we have the Scythe series by Neil Shusterman. I really enjoyed the trilogy. I didn't love the short stories, but they're just there while I've got the space. The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead, In a Dark Dark Wood by Ruth Ware, and then the Stormlight Archive, which is hidden behind here because it's not amazing. I don't love it. So I'm putting it back there while I decide what I can do with it. And then right on the end there we have The Emperor's Blades. And again, I'm waiting to see if I like the rest of the series before committing to it. So it's just hidden at the back until I need more space. This is my first unread shelf. Obviously I have a lot of books here. These are all also double stacked. This is my first fantasy shelf as well. It's all divided up into genres. Other than that, there's not really any organisation. This is kind of just where everything will fit. So we've got the Jasad Air, Wolf Song, the Unbroken, which I have started before many times, but haven't finished. A self-published book called Army of the Cursed. The Prior by Anthony Ryan, The Phoenix King, Wisteria by Adeline Grace. I absolutely adore these covers. I really need to finish this series. Daughter of No Wilds, The Ninth Reign, Kings of the Wild, The Pomegranate Gate, which I feel like is very rarely spoken about, but the sequel for this is out, so I'd like to read that soon. Bonesmith, another self-published book called Daughter of the Beast, another one called Wrath of Olympus. This was mainly a cover buy, I have to say. Look at that, it's stunning. And then here is one of the few times I've actually got a series sat together. I've got Red Tigress and Crimson Rain, the sequels to Blood Air, which is just above. 12 Kings, Little Thieves. Stacked to the back we have Malice and Star-Crossed. And then underneath we have Cain's Jawbone, the two other 5th season books, so The Stone Sky and The Obelisk Gate. Over on the left again we have Strange Weather by Joe Hill, Forest of a Thousand Lanterns, an arc of A Taste of Gold and Iron, Halflings, Innocent Darkness, Hunted by the Sky, Spellslinger, Stranger of Tempest, The 100,000 Kingdoms by N.K. Jemisin as well, Dance of Cloaks, A House of Shattered Wings, The Obsidian Tower, Bloody Rose, and then a bunch of Scarlet St. Clair books. I don't know which order these are supposed to go in, but we have A Game of Fate, which definitely isn't the first book, A Touch of Darkness, A Touch of Ruin. Then we have Raven Cry, The Starless Sea, which I found in a charity shop. I wasn't going to read this one, but I found this edition and then I was kind of like, well, maybe I'll give it a go. We have more N.K. Jemisin back here. This is The Killing Moon. Then we have Ash Princess and then Brom here, which you can't really see. This is The Child Thief. I didn't actually buy this one for myself. I was given a copy by my friend. And then right at the end here in the dark, we have The End of Magic, which is another self-published book. I've just spent about half an hour trying to tell if this camera is wonky, but hopefully it's okay. So this is my next fantasy shelf. Over on the left here, we've got Harry the Ninth and Nona the Ninth, We Hunt the Flame, which I have started a while ago, but I think I only got about 15 pages in. I'd like to give it a bookmark. I'd like to give it another go, I think. We've got Murder at Spindle Manor, which I keep meaning to read. It's another self-published book. Daughter of Darkness, The Crimson Crown, The Thousand Names, Promise of Blood, Twin Crowns, Fireborn, The Warrior Heir, Son of the Storm, A Dark and Hollow Star, The Final Strife, For the Wolf, A Queen in Hiding, The Drowned Woods, The Stormcrow, A Deadly Education, and The Scarlet Alchemist. You'll probably recognise a few of these from my 5-star predictions videos if you've watched them. And then let's see what we've got. I cannot remember. Okay, so hiding back here we have Smoke, we have Courting Darkness, Shadows of the Short Days, and Beneath the Citadel. And another one, The Boy with the Porcelain Blade. And then hiding right at the back we've got Spirit Gates, Dragon Pearl, A Throne of Swans, Vox, Dagger Spell, The Bone Witch, The City We Became, another N.K. Jemisin book. I think this is The Sisters Grimm. It's an art copy. The Left Hand of God, The Glass Sentence, Labyrinth Lost, Hereafter, The Looking Glass Wars, Gardens of the Moon, which I would really like to start in 2025. We have Age of Myth at the top there. The Map of Time, The Lost War, Castles in Their Bones, Trail of Lightning, The Crown Tower, She Who Became the Sun, Nocturna, and Vampires of El Norte is there in the dark. I basically didn't want to get all of these out. And then down here, this is the graphic novel shelf that my husband and I have going on. So as you can see here, we have the entire Fables collection, which he found in a charity shop. We have Nimona, This Place, got Pumpkinheads in there, the Kite Runner graphic novel, 2 volumes of Monstrous, The Witcher, Saga, Lock and Key, which is one of my favourite graphic novel series ever, Giant Days, and then a couple of other ones I haven't read yet, which is Opening Fire, The Old Guard, and the Montague twins over here. I think as we're down here, let's also take a look at this shelf. This is a continuation of my graphic novel shelf because Lore Olympus needed its own thing. And we've also got Palestine, which is a graphic novel, House of Leaves, which is not. We have a big DIY book, and we've got a bunch of like reference books. Got some children's books over here, like The Wind in the Willows, a book of ghost stories, Atticus the Storyteller's 100 Greek Myths, some dinosaur books because I love dinosaurs, and some textbooks and things that I like to read. And then at the back, just hidden behind there, we've got like some mental health first aid training, some German and Dutch books. Yeah, basically all my non-fiction texty sort of books, textbook sort of stuff. Another fantasy shelf. Again, no like particular order here. We have ACOTAR, The Shadow of the Gods, The Providence of Fire, The Stormcaller, The Book of the Witching, or The Book of Witching, which I really want to read, and I think we give it 5 stars. Winterkeep, Reign of the Fallen, The Oathbreaker's Shadow, Sweet Black Waves, which I think I won in a giveaway, The Ring and the Crown, Shadow and Flame, The Old Drift, Hench, The Witch and the Vampire, Godblind, The Jasmine Throne, and Unbound and Defiant, which are books in the Songs of Chaos series, books 2 and 3. And of course we have stuff hidden behind. We've got The City Stained Red over on the left, Daughter of Smoke and Bone, and Girl Serpent Thorn. And then up here we have the Avatar book, The Rise of Kyoshi. I'd really like to read this one soon. We've got the Chronicles of Narnia over on the end. I've read like 3 of these, I think. Vortex, Flamecaster, Sea of Shadows, Redemptor, The Blood Print, Red Sister, The Emerald Atlas, Upon a Burning Throne, which is stunning. But I don't know if it's ever getting a series ender. I know the second book is out, but I don't think it's getting a 3rd book. I'm debating whether to read this one. I kind of just want to keep it because it looks amazing. Over here we have The Unbroken Name, The Never Tilting World, Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb, which I tried reading once before. Didn't love it, but I'll give it another go at some point. The Invisible Library, The Candle and the Flame, which again is a stunning book that I've not really heard many people talk about. Eon, and then on the end here we have Bot Wars. Then my last fantasy shelf is this one here. As you can see, I have Sky Hunter, Red Wolf, Brain Cries Moon, a bunch of YA books, Age of Ash, The Ruin of Kings, Daughter of the Moon Goddess, which I really want to read, The Stardust Thief, The Gutter Prayer, Rage of Dragons, City of Lies, The Darkening, which I've not really heard anything about at all, These Violent Delights, The Stars Undying, One Dark Window, Empire of Sand, The Golem and the Jinni, The Traitor's Blade, and the sequel, Night's Shadow. Hiding behind, we have Seraphina and The Wizard Heir, which I honestly forgot I had. For Darkness Shows the Stars, The Night Circus, and Too Light the Lightning. And then back here we've got the His Dark Materials series, which I did read when I was younger. I don't think I ever read the 3rd book, so it's hiding behind there until I decide that I want to give it another go. Hollow Empire, Rune Marks, Fate of the Fallen, Blood Song. Both of these books apparently have really terrible sequels and not great reviews, so I might get rid of those at some point. Let me know if you think I should. Frostbitten and No Humans Involved, both by Kelly Armstrong, Magic Bites over there. The Relic Guild, Finnegan of the Rock, Swords Point, The Lord of the Rings, which I'll read one day. Sabriel, The Shadow Queen, Ink Hearts, The Awakening and the Reckoning, The Queen of the Tearling, The Letter for the King, Blackwing, and over there in the dark we've got The Girl King and The Bird King. So this here is my favourite shelf. Let me just get it all in frame. So obviously I think The City of Brass should have a centre stage on my bookshelf, and that is where this is. So this is basically my shrine to S.A. Chakraborty and to Becky Chambers. So starting over on the left, I have an arc of To Be Taught If Fortunate and then the actual finished copy. I have The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, A Closed and Common Orbit, Record of Spaceborne Few, and The Galaxy and the Ground Within. So it's all of the paperback books. And then I have 2 hardbacks of the same series. These are the Illumicrate editions. I haven't managed to find the other 2 books on eBay selling separately yet, but these editions are stunning and I'd like to have the full set. So if anyone is selling any, let me know. And then hidden behind there, I've got some other things to do with Becky Chambers. So I have a hardback of the Record of a Spaceborne Few. It's signed. I don't know if this is like the Waterstones hardback or not really sure. but I found it for like £20, so thought I would buy it. I have an ARC of A Closed and Common Orbit. I have a spare edition of The Galaxy and the Ground Within because my edition of A Closed and Common Orbit came with this one as well, so I've just got a spare here. And then here I've got her two novellas, A Psalm for the World Built and an ARC of A Prayer for the Crown Shy. I do need to get the hardback of this one to complete my collection, but it's not my favourite series, so that's just hiding at the back. And then moving on, we've got my S.A. Chakraborty shrine. We've got a little plant here that we'll put up there. And this here is a map of David Bad. And then we have 2 copies of The Adventures of Amina al-Sarafi. I can't remember which one is which, but obviously they do look quite different. Let me just have a look. This one over on the left is the Fairy Loot exclusive edition. So it's got the sprayed edge and it's got this stunning map, and this is the inside cover. So I tend to have these pages on display. And then here, I think this is the Waterstones edition, which also has a map, but it's not foiled. And then the inside cover is just like that. So I think I found the Fairy Loot one on eBay for about £10 because it was damaged. So I'm quite happy with that. Then I have my UK edition of The City of Brass, UK edition of The Kingdom of Copper. My UK edition of Empire of Gold should go in here, but my husband's reading it at the moment. And then just moving things along slightly, a bunch of bookmarks and character cards relating to the books. We have the UK hardback of The River of Silver, the US hardback of Empire of Gold, an ARC of River of Silver, and the UK ARC of City of Brass, which is one of my most treasured possessions. So next up just here, this is the TBR shelf that I was talking about. There aren't too many decorations on here. We've obviously got a fake plant pot just here, and this candle, which is a Halloween candle. So I probably should have put it away, but it smells so good. It's a sandalwood and tobacco scented candle from Home Sense, and it smells epic. Here is my immediate TBR. Here I have books that I have read for the month. I keep them all in one place so that I can easily do my wrap up. So obviously there are only 2 at the moment. I've only read 2 physical books so far this month, but eventually I'll, you know, shift these over, add more books. And then here are books that I wanted to prioritize, some of them kind of throughout the year and others kind of on a whim, and I moved them up to this space. Some of them can probably be rotated out, to be honest. So here I have Quicksilver, which I definitely need to read in the new year. I'm bloody reading this with a friend. I've got Ascendant, which I started but haven't finished. Caliban's War. The Blighted Stars, which again, I started, haven't finished. I've actually started all of these and not finished them. The Demon King, which would be a reread. Illusionary, The Pallbearers Club, and An American Marriage. Over here, we have this lovely edition of Evocation. I found this one on eBay, I think, for quite cheap. I don't think there's anything special about this edition. It just looks nice. We have The Girl of Fire and Thorns, because if I don't read this soon, Judith will be mad at me. Empire of Silence, a library book, Sisters of the Lost Nation, because I was going to try to read that soon. An art copy of A Dark and Drowning Tide. Immortal Longings, and over here we have The Silence of the Girls. And here I just have a poster for Evocation. This came with it. Okay, and then behind here we have some books that I'd like to reread, some books that I'd like to get to soon, books that I said that I would read soon and that I didn't get to. Most importantly, we have this adorable picture of Saxon in the bluebell fields. He's just the cutest. I also have a bunch of like bookmarks and things because I just like plonk them back there. And then books wise, we've got some books here that I would really like to reread soon. We have Tamara Webber's Contemporary Romance series. These are like the first new adult books that started coming out. These are books 2, 3, and 4, starting with Where You Are, and then we've got Good For You, Here Without You. There's also Magic Study and Fire Study. I need to reread them in order to recap them for my website. The Shadow of What Was Lost, which I've heard is amazing. I've got a box set of the Darker Shade of Magic series. I don't actually know what it's called. So the first 2 would be rereads for me, and then I need to finish it off with A Conjuring of Light. I've got 2 Jim Butcher books, Stormfront and Full Moon. Homecoming by Kate Morton, an arc of Ninth House. Blade Breaker and Realm Breaker by Victoria Aveyard. My Heart is a Chainsaw. The Covenant of Water. You can't really see it, but here is Frenchman's Creek by Daphne du Maurier. We've also got Weather Girl by Rachel Lynn Solomon, In Nightfall, Onyx and Ivory, and over in the corner here is Trespassers. And now we're back at me not being able to reach the shelves again, so forgive my awkward angles. This is my horror and thriller shelf. So we start off mainly with horror on this side and thrillers on this side, but it's a bit mixed and matched. It kind of just depends how I'm feeling on the day that I put things on this shelf. So here we have The Library at Mount Char, Lovecraft Country, The Reformatory, Hex, The Death of Jane Lawrence, The Swallows, The Chestnut Man, Leech, Rebecca, The Hunting Party, The Fury, The Drift, Plain Bad Heroines, Do Not Disturb, That Night, Indigo Ridge, which is like a more of a romance mystery but I wanted to put it on this shelf just to acknowledge that it does have some mystery elements. The Break, The Paleontologist, which is about a museum and dinosaurs. Triflers Need Not Apply, The Forest of Stolen Girls, and The Silence of Bones. Hiding just behind these books we have The Coast to Coast Murders by James Patterson, which I got from my neighbour. She lent it to me and I have not read it, so I should probably just give it back because I don't think I'm interested in it. I just didn't want to say no when she went to get it from her house for me when she heard that I liked reading. We have The Passage, which is a vampire horror book, post-apocalyptic. And then over there we have two Paula Hawkins books. We have A Slow Fire Burning and Into the Water. And then right at the back here we have a bunch of books that I found at the charity shop that I'm not entirely sure I want to read. We have The Vanishing Man by Jeffrey Deaver, Bag of Bones by Stephen King, which is the only Stephen King book that I feel like reading. Over here we have Red Dragon, Silence of the Lambs and Hannibal, all by Thomas Harris. You can't really see, it's quite dark. Over here, first book we have is White is for Witching, which is a witchy horror book. The Haunting of James Hastings, The Coffin Path, The Hatching, Unbury Carol by Josh Malerman, Pine, The Magpie Murders, A Fatal Crossing, Halcyon, the first Jack Reacher book because I just feel like, I don't know, maybe I'll read it one day. The Vanishing Season, Sanctuary, The Three Dahlias, Elevator Pitch, Dead Rich, The Murder Game. Those are all books that I got for free that I'm not entirely sure I do want to read, but I don't want to get rid of them without at least trying. So one day I'll try a chapter of each of those. The Secret, which was given to me by a colleague that I haven't read. The Family Next Door by Sally Hepworth. Mother-in-Law, also by Sally Hepworth. How to Kill Your Best Friend, which I honestly forgot that I owned. And then a bunch of Tom Rob Smith books. So we've got Agent 6, The Secret Speech and The Farm. I read Child 44, absolutely loved it, but then I tried The Secret Speech and didn't so much, so I'm probably going to unhaul those at some point, just not yet. Okay, and you've seen this shelf in my TBR video, I think. I didn't take all of the books out for that, so I'm just going to run over this really quickly because I'm standing on a chair and it's really wobbly. So this is my non-fiction shelf and I've got all sorts on here. I've got like some historical non-fiction, geographical non-fiction, some memoirs, some ancient history, some true crime. I have a bit of everything and I really like this globe as well. I found it in a charity shop, I think. And I think it's lovely, so that goes up there. So here I have Empire of Pain and Forensic. Back there I've got Gulag, The Crusades, First Ladies of Rome, Chernobyl, Chaos Monkeys. I think that Chaos Monkeys one is Quills. I've got The Wager. I really like books about shipwrecks and disasters. Here I've got Survival in the Killing Fields, The Anglo-Saxons, Babylon, Power of Geography, History of Ancient Britain, The State of Africa, Romanovs, and Borderland. Back there you can't really see, but I've got Pegasus, Furiously Happy, Black and British Empire Land, and The Indifferent Stars Above, which is about the Donner Party, and I really want to read this one soon actually, so I'm going to bring this to the front. Here we have The Secret Barrister, Out of Thin Air, Unnatural Causes, War Doctor, The Wild, 1491, Buried, I Am Malala, Murder in the Neighbourhood, and Killers of the Flower Moon. And then behind all of that we have Geisha of Gion, Erebus, The Six Wives of Henry VIII, Natives, Black Tudors, White Rage, and Sugar in the Blood. And then while we're up here, let's also tackle this shelf, which is my husband's. I'm just gonna have to pull these books back first, 1 second. Okay, so actually I didn't want to get back up there. So these two shelves are my husband's. I think you can tell that they're his by the way he's organised them. Up here, we have his TBR shelf, I think. Yeah, that makes sense. And then down here, we have his red shelf. And it's so messy. So along here, we have his Joe Abercrombie collection. I actually found this hardback in a charity shop, so I had to pick it up because it was in such good condition. We have this special edition of The Blade itself, which matches the Lies of Lochnamora edition that I have. I bought this at the same time. This was actually before we were together, and I had Joe Abercrombie sign it for him. It's when we were just friends, but clearly fancied each other. So that was a nice present for me to give to him. And then we've got Terry Pratchett, we've got the Witcher books, and then who even knows what's here. I think actually some of these are TBR books, so he's not really organised it very well. Yeah, it's probably for the best for only tackling this shelf very quickly. And then up here, you can't see, but he has Homegoing, which is my book, but I really want him to read it. Got a bunch of Terry Pratchett and Joe Abercrombie books, and then a few non-fiction books as well. This one, I'm scared to touch. It's Crossing the Danger Water, so it's a bunch of essays and letters. 300 years of African American writing. He has started that. I don't know why he stored it that way. It's really, yeah, I don't know. Moving on to my shelves again. Okay, and then moving on downwards. This is the start of my history, literary, romance shelves. I've got 3 of them, as I said at the beginning. This one here is mainly history, mythology, ancient history, and, you know, a little bit of everything, but mainly historical literary fiction. So starting off, we have Zadie Smith's NW. I don't know if you're meant to say Northwest, I suppose you are. The Housekeepers, which I think is more of like a mystery book, but it's also historical, so I put it in here. The Devil in the Dark Water, which again, I think is more of a horror book, but I've put it in here anyway because again it's historical. The Snow Child, Great Circle, The Mysterious Double Death of Honey Black, Heart of Darkness, Turtle Moon, which is just a pure contemporary fiction book. It's middle grade, but I put it here because that's where the space was. The Lost Apothecary, The Lamplighters, Queens of the Conquest, The Miniaturist, Daughter of Sparta. This is where my like ancient history sort of begins. A Thousand Ships, Daughters of Sparta. So we've got daughter and daughters. Inanna, I don't know how to pronounce that. The Girl with the Louding Voice, The Sweetness of Water, The Seal Woman's Gift, The Stationery Shop of Turan, The Wolf Den, Kaikei, Tsarina, and over here we have The Night Tiger. I really love historical fiction. I've noticed that I often rate them really highly, so that's why I wanted to display all of these here so that I often see them and feel the need to pick them up. Although that doesn't happen as regularly as I wish it did, I really want to make the time in the new year to read some more historical books because I do tend to love them. And then behind here we have Roma and the Valiant, and then we have the Alice Network, Labyrinth and the sequel, I don't know how to pronounce it, Sepultura, maybe? Band of Brothers, Birdsong, The Paper Palace, The Bronze Horseman, which I've had since probably the start of my channel and I still haven't read it. Gone with the Wind, Elizabeth and Mary, Elizabeth of York, The Last White Rose, Catherine Parr, The Sixth Wife, The Iliad by Homer, Captain Corelli's Mandolin, Tess of the D'Urbervilles, The Name of the Rose, Catch-22, The Great Gatsby, and over in the dark there we've got A Tale of Two Cities and Les Mis. As you can see, I've kind of put the classics right at the back there, which is probably why I don't pick them up very often because I forget that they're there. Also, I don't really have loads of interest in them, so they're kind of back there for when I feel like I need to read them. In the new year, I will be doing a classics challenge where I try to read 12 classics, so I'll be reaching from those books there. Here's my next contemporary shelf. This one is also a little bit of historical mixed with some actual contemporary. There's a little bit of romance over there on the end as well, so not really as much organisation on this shelf, but that's fine. So here we have Girls of Riyadh, we have Pillars of the Earth, The Change, Happy Families, The Sun Walks Down, Pachinko, which I am dying to read. I keep saying that, but I keep forgetting about it. Atonement, which is one of my priorities for the new year. City of Girls, Beautiful World, Where Are You? And Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. I've only read one book by her, and I think I'm going to try Conversations with Friends next, and then see if I do want to continue reading her books, just because I can't get on with the lack of quotation marks. It's driving me crazy, and I hate that it's becoming a trend. And I think Sally Rooney started it. I'm sure other authors were doing it before her, but I feel like she is the main culprit of this trend. So then we have Violetta, How Much of These Hills is Gold, The Devil All the Time, Stateless, Homefront and Winter Garden by Kristen Hanna, Under the Camelthorn Tree, The Coven, Once There Were Wolves, The Zanzibar Wife, The School for Good Mothers, Night Crawling, The X-Talk, Done and Dusted, and This Tender Land. Just behind we have The Light Seekers, Honey and Spice, The Historian, and The Dog Share. And then just behind that we have more of my charity shop finds that I'm not sure I really want to read, and a couple of classics as well. So we've got The Interpretation of Murder and The Death Instinct. No idea what they're about, but I assume I liked the sound of them when I picked them up from the charity shop. Marley and Me, The Book of Lost Things, Company of Liars, The Clan of the Cave Bear, Cold Mountain, American Psycho, Love in the Time of Cholera, The Lost Library, The Memory Keeper's Daughter, The Bees, The White Tiger, The Dante Club, Memoirs of a Geisha, Tell the Wolves I'm Home, Deadlock, My Mechanical Romance, which is Olivia Blake's YA romance book, The Pact and 19 Minutes by Jodie Picoult, On Beauty, and over in the corner there we have A Little Life, and that's just sitting in the dark until I feel like I want to read it, which may not be anytime soon. And for my last contemporary romance shelf, we have a few historical books, but these are definitely more contemporary, I think, on balance. I don't know, it's a whole mixture of things. These are just shelved on vibes and space. So here we have The Love Songs of W.E.B. Du Bois, Wolf Hall, The Long Song, The Silent Companions, The Versions of Us, Not in Love, Iris Kelly Doesn't Date, Lessons in Chemistry, Icebreaker, A Marvelous Light, The Regeneration Trilogy, People Person, Portrait of a Thief, Life After Life, up here, Half a Soul, A Man Called Over and Britt Marie Was Here, The Tiger's Wife, Once Upon a River, Betty and American Royalty. And then as you can see back here, I've actually got a ton of space for more books, but I would like to keep it that way, I think. So over here we have You'll Miss Me When I'm Gone, Bring Up the Bodies, Becky, Fingersmith, The Fisherman, Against the Loveless World, The Wind Knows My Name, The Queen of Poisons, Loath to Love You by Ellie Hazelwood, and over on the end we have one of the Pillars of the Earth books, World Without End, and also my little spaceman hiding behind there because he won't fit on my sci-fi shelf right now. And then my last two shelves are sci-fi, and again these are kind of just shelved on vibe, sort of by colour, sort of by author, just a mixture of things really. So over here we have The World Gives Way, Across the Void, Ancillary Justice, Semiosis, The Last Astronaut, which is a space horror kind of book. No Fet Gloss, The Spare Man, which is more of a space mystery thriller. These Burning Stars, The First Sister. My Adrian Tchaikovsky collection, The Doors of Eden, Cage of Souls, Shards of Earth and Children of Ruin. Seven Eves, which is the only Neil Stevenson book that I own, but I love the sound of all of his premises. Foundation, Reborn, Passenger, Time Salvager, Adrift, and Those Left Behind. As I keep telling everyone, sci-fi and space horror is my favourite genre at the moment, so I really need to read more of these. Some of them intimidate me because of the size, and then when I'm tired, I don't really feel the need to, or I don't really want to get into a new sci-fi book. I should really make more of an effort. Behind here we have Time Storm, Children of Memory, The City in the Middle of the Night, and The Echo Wife. And then at the back we have Dissonance, From Darkest Skies, Never Let Me Go, Light from Uncommon Stars, Atlas Alone, Silo, Voyage, Good Morning Midnight, The Wind-Up Girl, Howling Dark, Before Mars, Time Bomb, Mortal Engines, Ascension, The Circle, Old Man's War, Satellite Tracer, some Michael Crichton, we have Timeline Next, Congo and Pirate Latitudes. Right on the end we have The Long Earth by Stephen Baxter and Terry Pratchett. And then down here on the final shelf of the bookshelf, we're using my handheld tripod, so it may be a little bit wobbly. This is my final shelf and it's another sci-fi shelf because I've been collecting lots of these this year and I really need to get a move on and read them. So over on the end we have The Red Scholar's Wake, Generation Ship, Undivided, Some Desperate Glory, Beyond the Hallowed Sky, Floating Hotel, which is going to be one of my priorities for this year, Deep Sky, which I think sounds incredible, The Last Gifts of the Universe, Under Fortunate Stars, Stars and Bones, The Last Human, The Deep, which may be more of a horror book, I don't know, Calamity, Severance, The Crossing, The Abyss Surrounds Us, Infinity Gate, The Water Knife, The Fireman, The Mystery of the Future, Migrations and the Principle of Moments. So there's like some time travel stuff in here, some apocalyptic stuff, possibly some horror, and some straight up like spacey sci-fi, all stuff that I absolutely love. Behind we have The Year of the Flood and Pandemic, and then hiding back here we have a mixture of things. Honestly, we've got Bridge, Abandon, The Lost Worlds, Flashfall, a fantasy series but it's also kind of post-apocalyptic, which is why it's here. It's called Poison Princess and it's questionable. I've actually already read this one but I want to reread it and see if I want to carry on with the series. It's an interesting one. It's meant to be YA. I'm not entirely sure it is. We have The Paladin Prophecy, Defy the Stars, The 10,000 Skies Above You and A Million Worlds Without You, all by Claudia Gray, Ocean's Echo, Birthmarked and Incarcerum, which are definitely more dystopian books, The Edge of Everything and The Brink of Darkness, Inside Out, Wolf by Wolf, which is more historical thriller, but it's got like alternate history, Doing Time, Renegades, Red Moon, Mindwalker, and The Book of M. And that is my bookshelf tour for 2025, I guess. I can't see this changing much in the next few months, so this setup is pretty solid. But who knows, maybe if I rearrange things I will do another shelf tour in the near future. But for now I hope you enjoyed this one and thank you for watching.